He always had a girlfriend, so women, so that was a little bit, get my feathers ruffled.
Amid the mournful atmosphere following the sudden death of Malcolm-Jamal Warner, this statement from Karen Malina White rang out like an emotional puzzle piece, stirring up countless memories of a relationship once cherished by many fans. At the age of 60, the actress who had been connected to the actor for nearly a decade chose to break her silence and speak out at a moment when the whole world was turning toward him. And this action immediately set off a storm on social media, attracting hundreds of thousands of interactions within just a few hours. But behind those massive numbers lies a much more complex story of separation and subtle implications that split public opinion into two fiercely opposing sides. Is this merely a heartfelt tribute, or does it contain something deeper about their relationship? And why could just one photo and a single line of text ignite a global wave of debate? Amid the flood of responses, many began to turn back time, returning to the starting point of this special relationship. Because to truly understand the weight of every word she had just written, one must look back at the entire journey they walked together. From their first encounters on set, through the enduring years of love, to the moment they quietly went their separate ways. A bond spanning more than a decade. Malcolm-Jamal Warner was born in 1970 in Jersey City, New Jersey, and from a very early age, his life was intertwined with the spotlight. At the age of 14, the young boy with a gentle smile and intelligent eyes joined the ranks of American television royalty when he transformed into Theo Huxtable in the legendary sitcom The Cosby Show, 1984 to 1992. At its peak, more than 30 million American viewers tuned in each week to follow the Huxtable family. And the role of Theo earned Malcolm-Jamal an Emmy nomination, making him one of the most recognizable faces of the 80s-90s generation. Early resounding success did not cause Malcolm-Jamal to rest on his laurels. After The Cosby Show, he continued to expand his career with the lead role of Malcolm McGee in Malcolm and Eddie 1996-2000, then appeared in Suits: Read Between the Lines, The Resident, and many other film and television projects. Off-screen, Malcolm-Jamal was a multi-talented artist, musician, poet, spoken word performer. In 2015, he won a Grammy for Best Traditional R&B Performance alongside Robert Glasper and Lala Hathaway for the song Jesus Children. Nearly 40 years in the business, Malcolm-Jamal left a lasting mark not only on screen, but also in music and popular culture. 5 years earlier, Karen Malina White was born in 1965 in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. She first gained attention with her role as Kenesha Carter in the drama film Lean on Me, 1989. Television audiences loved Karen as Charmaine Brown, the witty, intelligent friend in the final 2 seasons of The Cosby Show, 1990 to 1992, continuing in a Different World, 1992 to 1993. By coincidence, The Cosby Show was also where Karen and Malcolm-Jamal first met, when she played the friend of a Huxtable family cousin. Without noise or scandal, Karen steadily built her career through numerous television roles in Living Single Chicago, Hope, How to Get Away with Murder Veep, and especially in voice acting. Most notably as Dejanay Jones in The Proud Family 2001 to 2005 and its reboot 2022, which earned her an Annie Award nomination. What they had in common was that both grew up in the American sitcom environment, a world that demanded actors to be both adaptable and full of personality. When they first met Malcolm, Jamal was 20 years old at the height of his fame, while Karen was 25, exploring different avenues in her career. At the time, their relationship remained one of respect and friendliness, but this foundation would plant the seeds for a deeper connection later on. During that period, Malcolm-Jamal dated Michelle Thomas, his co-star in The Cosby Show. When Michelle passed away from cancer in 1998 at the age of 30, Malcolm-Jamal stayed by her side until her final moments, a great loss that made him value truly meaningful relationships even more. Karen, since her days at Howard University, had been well known for both her beauty and academic achievements, choosing not to marry and dedicating herself to the arts. In 1996, fate brought them together again for another project, the sitcom Malcolm and Eddie. Unlike their brief earlier collaboration, this time they worked together for 4 years. Karen played Nicolette Vandross, the neighbor and close friend of Malcolm McGee, portrayed by Malcolm-Jamal himself. On screen, they played off each other seamlessly. Off-screen humor and mutual understanding brought them closer. The relationship still remained at the friendship level, but this period laid the groundwork for a lasting romance. From fleeting encounters on The Cosby Show to 4 years side by side on Malcolm and Eddie, They became two names naturally linked in the audience's memory. Both entered the prime of their careers and kept their personal lives private, a rarity in American showbiz. Their love story wasn't a love-at-first-sight whirlwind, but the result of more than a decade's worth of layered memories, exchanged glances on set, long backstage conversations after filming, and defending each other under work pressures. When they began dating, Malcolm-Jamal was 30, having just left a successful sitcom, but searching for new direction. Karen was 35, rich in life experience and steadfast in her career. The 5-year age gap was no barrier. Instead, it created balance. Malcolm brought youthfulness and star power, while Karen provided a steady anchor. Mutual friends recalled that they were like two perfectly fitting puzzle pieces, both understanding the rhythm of sitcoms, backstage pressures, and how to maintain professionalism. Karen once shared, "He knows how to listen and always makes me laugh, even when I don't want to." 7.5 years together, 2000 to 2007, marked a rare stretch in Hollywood, where a couple could maintain both privacy and deep connection. They attended events together, but never flaunted their affection, vacationed together, but avoided paparazzi exposure. To those close to them, their bond was profound. Karen often quietly supported Malcolm from the audience. Malcolm read scripts with Karen encouraging her to take on new roles. A friend revealed he genuinely believed in her talent. At the time, they were regarded as the golden couple of the 90s sitcom generation. Attractive, intelligent, scandal-free. Rumors that they had secretly married circulated around 2005 because their relationship was so long-lasting. Malcolm only laughed and clarified, "I've never been married. Maybe people think that because we've been together 7.5 years. But then, like a film reaching its climax, only to take a sudden turn, the seemingly unshakable romance came to an end. There were no public arguments, no accusations, no noisy disputes. The breakup of Malcolm and Karen happened so quietly that many were shocked to learn of it. After nearly a decade together, they chose to walk separate paths, leaving behind not only beautiful memories, but also a void that was hard to fill in the eyes of both the public and those involved. The painful separation, when the door of love between Malcolm-Jamal Warner and Karen Malina White closed in 2007, neither of them knew they were stepping into a new journey, filled with challenges and choices that would shape the rest of their lives. 7.5 years together was enough for each to know the other deeply, yet long enough to realize they needed their own paths. From that point on, two separate roads began to run in parallel, sometimes intersecting in memory, but no longer crossing in reality. Leaving behind his deep relationship with Karen Malcolm-Jamal, then just 37 channeled much of his energy into his career. He remained a sought-after face on television, appearing regularly in popular series such as Read Between the Lines, Community Suits, and most notably The Resident. Outside of acting, he continued to nurture his passion for music and spoken word, even collaborating with Robert Glasper and Lala Hathaway to win a Grammy in 2015 for Best Traditional R&B Performance with the song Jesus Children. But Malcolm's life was not solely about work. In 2011, he publicly dated Regina King, a co-star and acquaintance from his youth. This was a relationship warmly supported by the public, with the two even living together. Malcolm once described it as a special relationship, and many thought he would soon settle down for good. However, in 2013, Regina revealed they had broken up, and the timing stunned fans. It was on Valentine's Day. Regina received flowers and a note reading, "I still love you," just hours after the breakup. The incident left many believing Malcolm still wasn't ready for the commitment of marriage, even in his early 40s. Then unexpectedly, around 2016 to 2017, Malcolm quietly married a woman outside the entertainment industry. He never revealed his wife's identity, sharing only a few details about becoming the father of a baby girl. Everything was kept private. For Malcolm, this was an intentional choice to protect his family from media intrusion. In his final years, he became a devoted family man, enjoying the simple joys of life with his wife and daughter. This privacy also made the public all the more shocked when tragedy struck in July 2025. Meanwhile, at 42, when the breakup happened, Karen chose an independent path. She did not publicly reveal any new romantic relationships, nor allow dating rumors to overshadow her career. Karen remained steadfast in her acting journey, appearing in well-known television series such as How to Get Away with Murder, Veep, Chicago Hope, and Living Single. While most of her roles were supporting or guest appearances, she consistently left an impression with her graceful acting and the depth she brought to her characters. A special highlight of Karen's career was her voice acting work. She continued voicing Dejanay Jones in The Proud Family. And when Disney launched the reboot The Proud Family Louder and Prouder in 2022, Karen returned to the role, earning an Annie Award nomination for Outstanding Voice Acting. In her 50s, she maintained her versatility and passion for the craft, no small feat for a Black actress in Hollywood. Karen, too, chose a private life like Malcolm. Never married without children, she dedicated her time to work, friends, and herself. On social media, Karen shared just enough for fans to know she was healthy, happy, and doing what she loved. She embodied the image of a strong woman defining her worth not by having a husband or children, but by what she created and how she lived. Interestingly, although each went their own way, they still existed in each other's lives in a quiet way. Karen surely knew about Malcolm's secret marriage and fatherhood. Likewise, Malcolm could not have been unaware that Karen was still shining in her voice acting and acting career in middle age. They did not meet again publicly, nor did they appear together in any projects after 2000. But memories are not so easily erased. With 7.5 years together, the habits, private conversations, trips, and words all remained as part of the hidden corners of each person's life. Both had reached a state of personal stability. Malcolm had a peaceful small family. Karen had a steady career and personal freedom. It seemed they had completely moved past their love story, leaving it as a beautiful memory. But life rarely allows people to control everything. On an afternoon in July 2025, when news of Malcolm-Jamal Warner's death spread across the globe, Karen's world, though separated by nearly 2 decades, suddenly shook. That name, that face, and those years together all came rushing back. It was no longer a matter of distant past, but a real loss touching the deepest parts of memory and emotion. Because sometimes the passage of time does not fade. Memories, it only lets them sleep until a major event awakens everything. And for Karen, this was the fateful moment when she had to face the reality that the man who had shared her youth was gone forever. A dark afternoon at Cocoles Beach. On July 20th, 2025, Cocoles Beach in Limon Province, Costa Rica was still as blue and serene as any other day. But only a few hours later, those same waters swallowed a name once known and loved by millions, Malcolm-Jamal Warner, at the age of 54. He was on a family vacation with his discreet wife and young daughter when the accident happened. The official report stated that he died from drowning swept away by an unexpected rip current, an ordinary seaside accident, at least on paper. But not everyone was ready to believe in such simplicity. For on that very day of mourning, his mother Pamela Warner left behind a short yet haunting remark, "There are things we can't say yet." Those words fell into silence but echoed loudly across social media and in the press. What did "can't say" yet mean? Was there some detail being concealed? Another incident beyond the waves? Or was it simply the vague feeling of a mother who had just lost her son? No one could say for certain, but the gaps in the information gave the public's imagination plenty of room to run wild. Some witnesses claimed that Malcolm-Jamal and a friend had entered the water together, leaving his daughter on the shore. Just minutes later, both were pulled far out to sea. Somehow, the friend managed to escape. He did not. Rescuers found Malcolm unconscious, and attempts to revive him failed. The question lingered: if both were caught in the same current, why did only one survive? The answer, if it exists, remains locked somewhere in the investigation files the public has yet to see. The mystery deepened when people remembered that just days earlier, Malcolm-Jamal had appeared healthy and cheerful at a concert, even calling Bill Cosby to share his excitement. There had been no sign of weakness or health issues. His sudden passing turned him into the center of a wave of grief, mixed with suspicion. Online, hundreds of thousands of posts commemorating him appeared within just 2 days. But beneath the outpouring of emotion, quiet murmurs began to spread. Was this really just an accident? Were his mother's cryptic words a clue? Or was it simply grief making people see mystery where there was only tragedy? And amid this storm of emotion, there was another silence that drew attention. Karen Malina White, the woman who had been with him for 7 years, said nothing. They had parted ways nearly 2 decades ago, but their love had once been so deep that the public believed they would marry. Now, as he passed away under unclear circumstances, what was she thinking? Did she believe in the accident described in the report? A heartfelt and unexpected response at age 60 for 4 days after the news of Malcolm-Jamal Warner's passing. Spread across the world, social media buzzed with millions of shares, hundreds of thousands of comments, and countless tributes from colleagues and fans alike. Big names like Tracee Ellis Ross, Magic Johnson, Beyoncé, and even Bill Cosby, the on-screen father who had shared so many years with him, had all spoken out. Yet amid this tide of remembrance, one silence kept the public in suspense. Karen Malina White, Malcolm's 7-year-long love, remained completely quiet. It was not the silence of someone unaware. Industry insiders claimed that just hours after the news was confirmed, Karen had been informed in a private phone call from mutual friends. And yet she posted nothing, gave no interview, and made no appearance in the press. In an era when first reactions are often broadcast instantly, her restraint only deepened public curiosity and concern. Then, on July 24, 2025, Karen broke her silence. Not through a television appearance, not via an interview, but with a single post on her personal Instagram account. The photo she chose left many with a lump in their throat, Malcolm-Jamal standing behind her arms wrapped tightly around her. Both of them smiling brightly, a moment not of red carpet glamour, but of two people lovers and friends, enjoying a rare moment of peace away from the spotlight. It was not a promotional, still not an event photograph. It was clearly a personal snapshot kept safe for many years. The caption beneath it sent social media into a frenzy. "What a profound karmic relationship, my friend. Thank you. Until we meet again. Love you always in all ways." Only 26 words, yet an entire story lived inside them. Karen called their love a karmic relationship, a bond woven deeply by fate. She expressed gratitude as though they had completed a shared life lesson. Then came the farewell. "Until we meet again," a quiet belief in meeting once more somewhere beyond this life. And finally, the phrase that lit the internet aflame. "Love you always in all ways," a declaration of eternal love in all ways, punctuated with a winking emoji. Within hours, it became the centerpiece of debate. In just 24 hours, the post amassed over 150,000 likes and 40,000 comments. On Twitter, now X, the hashtag Karen Malina White climbed into the global trending list. YouTube flooded with reaction videos, some garnering millions of views dissecting every word, every emoji, every nuance. Beneath the main caption, Karen added another line, "My deepest condolences to Pam Warner, his wife and daughter." This detail made it clear she had not ignored the presence of Malcolm's current wife, whose identity he had fiercely protected for years. It was a subtle boundary she did not claim. A place did not deny the reality, but still affirmed her own emotional significance in his life. Yet that boundary became the very focal point of controversy when placed under the lens of millions. Within hours of the post going live, what had been intended as a private farewell was thrust into the unforgiving glare of a global court of public opinion. And from there, the story moved into an entirely new chapter. One where every word, every photograph, even every punctuation mark would be scrutinized without mercy. The media storm and the two opposing waves. Less than a day after Karen Malina White hit post on the intimate hugging photo accompanied by the words "Love you always in all ways," the internet turned into a battleground of public opinion. The numbers skyrocketed, as if someone had just lit a massive fire. Over 150,000 likes within 24 hours, nearly 40,000 comments on Instagram, and hundreds of thousands of shares on Twitter, now X. From that moment, the story of Malcolm-Jamal Warner's death was no longer just about its cause and circumstances. It now zeroed in on how a famous ex-girlfriend had chosen to bid him farewell. Major forums like Reddit immediately opened fresh threads. One titled, "Karen Malina White's Tribute, Too Much or Just Right," drew over 8,000 comments in just 2 days. The public quickly split into two firmly entrenched camps, neither side willing to yield. The critics focused on 3 main points: timing, imagery, and tone. They argued Karen had chosen a sensitive moment only 4 days after Malcolm's death to post a private photo, one that could reignite talk of their past romance, while his family was still in mourning. Moreover, the image wasn't a public moment, but a behind-the-scenes hug from behind, carrying a private, intimate feel. The phrase "in all ways" and the winking emoji were viewed by some as too heated for a man who had a wife. One Twitter account with over 200,000 followers wrote, "I don't feel good about this." Regina King, also an ex, posted a respectful tribute without alluding to romance. Karen's was different, and it could hurt Malcolm's current wife. This post gained over 15,000 likes and 5,000 retweets, becoming a representative voice for the critical side. Supporters, however, offered a completely opposite perspective. They pointed out that Karen and Malcolm had been together for 7.5 years, long enough to form a bond that went beyond romantic love. The fact that Karen referred to him as my friend and extended condolences to his mother, wife, and daughter proved she had no intent to steal the spotlight or deny the role of his current family. A pinned comment on Karen's Instagram read, "You did nothing wrong. This is your way of loving and remembering. We support you." This single comment alone drew over 3,000 likes, showing there was significant empathy for her grief. While the debate raged on without slowing, mainstream media quickly jumped in. Entertainment outlets like People TMZ and Entertainment Tonight ran bold headlines: Malcolm-Jamal Warner's ex-girlfriend sparks storm with controversial farewell. Some publications dug deeper into the mystery angle, pairing Karen's words with Malcolm's mother's earlier statement, "There are things we cannot yet say," and spinning theories that Karen knew more than she was revealing. YouTube was flooded with analysis videos. The biggest US celebrity news channel released an 18-minute breakdown, slowing down every word in her caption, explaining the meaning of karmic relationship and the winking emoji as if decoding a cipher. In just 3 days, the video hit over 1.2 million views. Not just online daytime talk shows also entered the conversation. One well-known host asked directly on air, "Are we being too harsh on how someone chooses to express their grief? Or did Karen truly cross a sensitive line?" The question triggered thousands more Facebook comments, clearly splitting the audience. One side argued that modern society had become too sensitive and wanted to police even how people mourn. The other believed that respect for the deceased's family was a principle not to be broken. Interestingly, throughout this media storm, Karen remained completely silent. She did not delete the post, did not edit the caption, and gave no interviews. This silence only reinforced each side's stance. Critics took it as proof she knew she was wrong, while supporters saw it as strength. She said what she meant and didn't need to explain. A media expert interviewed by Variety commented, "Karen's non-response has turned the post into a symbol. It's no longer just a tribute, it's become the focal point for every theory, emotion, and ounce of curiosity." The Karen-Malcolm story was no longer merely about former lovers bound by deep friendship. It had become the centerpiece of a broader debate. Where is the line between personal grief and communal respect? Between the right to express oneself and the responsibility to safeguard the image of the deceased? Google Trends data showed that between July 20th and July 27th, 2025, searches for Karen Malina White spiked by 300% worldwide. Many people had in fact learned her name for the first time because of this post. One celebrity news site bluntly wrote, "Karen has become the main character of Malcolm-Jamal Warner's final chapter," even though she hadn't been in his story for nearly 2 decades. As the storm swirled, some journalists began digging into old records, searching for times when Karen had spoken about Malcolm in past interviews. A 2010 clip resurfaced in which she was asked why they broke up. "It wasn't the easiest, but we made it work." For those who believed in the hidden meaning theory, this line became a fresh puzzle piece, hinting that their relationship may have endured complex challenges. Before the public could move on, another surprising detail emerged from a source close to Malcolm's family. Karen had quietly sent a special wreath to his private funeral. A wreath made entirely of sunflowers, the flower Malcolm had once called the symbol of a smile. This revelation immediately reignited the story. Had there been recent contact between them that the public knew nothing about? Though never confirmed, such speculation spread quickly across websites and into real-life conversations, merging with the emotional tide left by Malcolm-Jamal Warner's passing. From initial curiosity, the public began to revisit his journey not just through the lens of a single relationship, but from a wider angle: the love he gave, the losses he endured, and the legacy he left behind in both art and community. Love, loss, and the legacy left behind. Karen Malina White's response to the passing of Malcolm-Jamal Warner went far beyond the scope of a sensational entertainment headline. It opened the door to deeper reflections on love loss and the values that remain after someone leaves this world. First and foremost, the relationship between Malcolm-Jamal and Karen is proof that not all love that ends is lost forever. They came together in the radiant prime of youth, parted ways in the maturity of adulthood, and each went on to follow separate paths. 7 years together were not erased by time, but transformed into another kind of bond, enduring and no less profound. Between them now is friendship, gratitude for the past, and appreciation for what they once gave each other. Karen once described their bond as a karmic relationship, a fateful arrangement that allowed them to learn invaluable lessons about loving, letting go, and growing after separation. Many years later, when she learned of his passing, that invisible thread still pulled her back, compelling her to say one final goodbye. The timing and manner in which Karen chose to speak at age 60 also revealed a mix of sincerity and courage. After decades of silence about their relationship, she decided to publicly express her love, fully aware it might spark debate. But for Karen, this was not the time to weigh titles or fear public chatter. It was the moment to speak her heart before it was too late. She did not hesitate to affirm her feelings in simple yet deeply emotional words, a reminder that sometimes the most important thing is to say what your heart needs to say, because we never know what tomorrow will bring. The public's reaction also reflected the enduring power of love stories tied to famous names. Fans had followed them since the 1990s, witnessing both their happiest moments and their breakup, and now found themselves drawn into the final chapter. Some cherished the romance of the past. Others prioritized protecting the peace of Malcolm-Jamal's present-day family. Different views, yet, all born from the affection for him, a performer who left his mark not only through iconic roles, but also in how he treated those around him. Though their romantic journey ended long ago, the bond between them never truly disappeared. In Karen's message, the public sensed a love that had transcended the boundaries of time and death. The image of a woman in her 60s, composed yet visibly moved, sending a final, loving message to the man she once loved, touched millions of hearts. It's no wonder that only hours after Karen Malina White posted her tribute, social media erupted into an unprecedented wave of remembrance. Hashtags like #RIP Malcolm-Jamal Warner and #Theo Huxtable Forever quickly dominated the global trending list on Twitter X, with more than 500,000 posts in just 24 hours. Alongside them came millions of shares, comments, and countless photos and archival videos shared by fans and colleagues, from legendary screen moments to Warner's candid everyday life. It was a collective effort to hold tight to the memory of a face that had been part of popular culture for nearly 4 decades. From Hollywood tributes poured in rapidly, castmates from The Cosby Show shared never-before-heard behind-the-scenes stories, Warner patiently sitting for hours to help fellow actors rehearse lines, or cleverly breaking the tension on set with lighthearted jokes. Felicia, Rashad. His on-screen mother wrote with deep emotion, "Malcolm was not just a colleague, he was family. His talent, kindness, and warm heart will live on." Younger stars like Donald Glover and Yahya Abdul-Mateen II thanked him, calling him a lighthouse who guided them as they worked to break Hollywood stereotypes. Beyond his peers, the African-American community gave Warner a particularly heartfelt farewell. In hundreds of articles, vlogs, and tribute videos, he was praised as a part of American television history. Someone who helped shape the image of an intellectual, humane black family in the 1980s-90s, when media was still saturated with reductive and negative stereotypes. International outlets also revisited his career, from the 16-year-old Emmy nominee in 1986 to his Grammy win in 2015 for Best Traditional R&B Performance, to standout roles in Sons of Anarchy, The Resident, and American Crime Story. For Warner, the legacy he left behind could be seen in 2 distinct layers. The first was Theo Huxtable, the iconic Cosby Show character, who helped shift how audiences saw black people on television, despite the controversies surrounding Bill Cosby. The second was his diverse artistic journey after The Cosby Show, critically acclaimed jazz and spoken word albums, poetry collections, directing work, and carefully chosen roles to protect his own artistic principles. As he once stated, "I know my legacy is partly secured because of The Cosby Show, but I want to be remembered for what I did after that as well." Warner's passing sparked broad conversations about the phenomenon of the frozen legacy, when an artist is celebrated loudly after death, yet had been largely forgotten in their later years. Critics argued Warner was a prime example of a performer caught between 2 extremes, regarded as an icon, while simultaneously a victim of cultural amnesia. After his funeral, some local TV stations and streaming platforms quietly began re-airing The Cosby Show, as a form of tribute without heavily promoting it to avoid controversy. Talk shows and podcasts invited co-stars, directors, and musicians who had worked with him to speak of a Warner who was resilient and willing to take the harder path to preserve his values. Some longtime fan groups even launched online campaigns to bring The Cosby Show back. With the message, "You can't erase an entire cultural work because of one person's mistakes." Amid all these voices, Karen Malina White's words acted as a spark that reignited a chain of memories and tributes like never before. From a single affectionate photo, fragments of Warner's life and career began to come together: laughter on set, the music he once performed, the fundraisers he led, and even episodes that had seemed forgotten. Each story, each shared image, was like a thread weaving together a complete portrait of a man whose love, loss, and legacy have fused into an indelible mark. Malcolm-Jamal Warner may have left this world, but the love, memories, and legacy he left behind continue to live on in the hearts of his family, friends, colleagues, and millions of fans across the globe. He was not only a gifted artist, but also an inspiration, someone who consistently used his voice and actions to create positive change within the community. If you want to continue following and discovering more genuine, heartfelt stories about remarkable individuals who, like Malcolm-Jamal Warner, have left an enduring mark, be sure to subscribe and support this channel. Every bit of your support helps us share more stories that deserve to be told.
All data, analysis, and commentary in this video are presented based on information available at the time of production. The content is subject to change over time and should not be considered a definitive forecast. There is still so much more to explore: stories of resilience, legacy, and truth. Feel free to dive into some of our top recommended videos now appearing on your screen.